2019 City of Palatka Commission meeting. At this time, we're going to have our invocation by Reverend Dan Phillips, Central Putnam County Ministerial Alliance, followed by our pledge by Ms. Mary Garcia. Will everyone please stand at this time?
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be here in this hallowed hall where the business of this city can be conducted, where the people and the problems of this area can be addressed, and that, Father, these city commissioners that have chosen to throw their hat in the ring to represent respective areas in this city can do all that is within their power and through your leadership to meet the needs of the people of Palatka. Thank you, Father, for this opportunity. You have ordained government. And may the meeting that is held tonight not disappoint, but lift you up. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Every time you hear Pastor Phillips, you just want to let him talk for the rest of the meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor Terrell L. Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mary Lawson Brown. Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Here. Okay. All members are present and accounted for, and you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Next up is approval of minutes, and we had an opportunity to review the minutes from our May 28th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So motion by Commissioner Campbell, a second by Commissioner McCaskill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our public recognitions and presentations for today. First up, Charles Puckett and Teen, Child Abuse Prevention Month. As we get set up, we just got an opportunity to come back from the riverfront. A great gathering of citizens and organizations throughout the community for our Child Abuse Prevention Month program. And if you get an opportunity, I'm sure they'll still be there by the time we get out of here. So just be it over if you can and just show your support. This proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Florida's future depends on the nurturing, the healthy development of our 4 million children in our state. And whereas abuse and neglect of children can cause severe, costly, and lifelong problems. Whereas every child has a right to be safe, healthy, and educationally and developmentally on track. And whereas research shows that parents and caregivers who have support systems know how to seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. And whereas individual businesses, schools, and faith-based and community organizations must make children a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, emotional, and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas during the month of April, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection, the Department of Children and Families, and the Ounce Prevention Fund of Florida, the City of Palatka will support Pinwheels for Prevention, the statewide campaign promoting awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the type of concrete support families need within our community. Now, therefore, I, Terrell Hill, Mayor of the City of Palatka, Florida, on behalf of the Palatka City Commission, hereby proclaim April 28, 2019 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Palatka, Florida. And we urge all who read or hear this proclamation to engage in activities whose purpose is to strengthen families and communities to provide optimal environment for healthy child development. And we're just here to set my hand and cause to be affixed the seal of the City of Palatka, Florida, on this 11th day of April, the year of our Lord 2019. Terrell Hill, Mayor, Mary Lawson Brown, Rufus Borum, Justin Campbell, and Tammy McCaskill, Commissioners. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Just There's a motion by Commissioner McCaskill, second by Commissioner Ford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. I want to thank you guys.
I want to thank the mayor and the council and the city of Palatka for helping us put on the best event we've ever been able to put on in Palatka before. There are so many people across the street right now. It's tripled what we had last year. It's all thanks to you guys and your support of creating great childhoods, which is the theme this year for Child Abuse Prevention Month, is to create great childhoods, and you guys are helping to do that. So thank you very much for investing in your children.
Yes, sir.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next up, call before you dig. Got Brad Martin, Brett Dennis, Sam Willis, City of Palatka Public Works, Jonathan Griffith. Randy Jamie,
I realized
and Sean. You also have a Public Works folks here? Yes.
Evening, Mayor.
How are you, sir? This proclamation reads as follows. Whereas each year in Florida, lives are endangered, money and time are wasted and properties destroyed because people fail to locate underground facilities before beginning excavation or demolition. Whereas Sunshine 811, a one-call center that notifies participating utility agencies of plans to engage in excavation or demolition, is a free service of professional contractors as well as homeowners digging in their yard. And whereas the one-call center provides a toll-free number to reduce damages to underground utility facilities, thereby preventing injury to persons and damage to property, as well as reducing the loss of utility service to the public and the loss of time and money to both contractors and utilities. Whereas in addition to saving time and money, the one-call system helps excavators comply with the safety rules and regulations of the construction industry. And whereas anyone planning any type of excavation or demolition should call Sunshine 811. And if a line must be located, personnel will be sent to mark the location of the line at no cost to the inquiring party. Now therefore, I, Terrell Hill, Mayor of the City of Palatka, Florida, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 as Call Before You Dig Month in the City of Palatka. And we urge all citizens and contractors to use Sunshine 811, one call center to locate underground facilities before beginning excavation or demolition, in addition to all other appropriate safety precautions. And witness wherever I'm here to set my hand and cause to be affixed, the seal of the City of Palatka, Florida, on this 11th day of April, the year of our Lord, 2019. Terrell Hill, Mayor, Mary Lawson Brown, Rufus Board, Justin Campbell, and Tammy McCaskill, Commissioner.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Campbell, a second by Vice Mayor Brown. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you again, sir. Let's get seated.
I'd like to say a quick thank you to the commission, to the mayor, to our partnering utility owners, helping make Florida the safest place to dig. It's a free service for Call Before You Dig. Not sure if you guys saw the news yesterday with the explosion that took place up in Durham, North Carolina. Those are the types of things that 811 is put forth by the legislature in partnering with our fellow utility owners to prevent those damages, protect life and property, and protect Florida's infrastructure. So we hats off to you guys, and we appreciate you very much for joining in with the state of Florida as Safe Digging Month, and it's actually National Safe Digging Month for the month of April. So appreciate your support.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Jim Toriano. I've got Craig McLean in his place. He's a little bit taller.
Yeah.
Water Conservation Month. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, clean and sustainable water resources are vital to Florida's environment, economy, and quality of life. And whereas the St. Johns River Water Management District and the City of Palatka are working with the state of Florida, other water management districts, local governments, and water supply utilities to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. And whereas the City of Palatka and the state of Florida have designated April typically a dry month, when water demands are most acute, as Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the City of Palatka has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events, and joined St. Johns River Water Management District in encouraging and supporting water conservation through its water supply planning processes, cooperative funding programs, technical assistance, and regulatory programs. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water and protecting Florida's water resources. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. Now therefore, I, Terrell Hill, Mayor of the City of Palatka, Florida, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby endorse and proclaim the month of April 2019 as Water Conservation Month in the City of Palatka. And I call upon citizens and businesses to help protect our precious resource by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. And witness whereof I've hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the City of Palatka, Florida, on this 11th day of April in the year of our Lord 2019. Terrell Hill, Mayor, Mary Lawson Brown, Rufus Board, Justin Campbell, and Tammy McCaskill, Commissioners.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause.
I think most of you know me. I just take a moment to thank the mayor and the city commission. Over the years, the district's really enjoyed our partnership with the city. We've done a lot of really neat projects for the reclaimed water distribution system, recognizing that Palatka was the first city to have its discharge out of the St. Johns River to full reclaim use. So those types of things, we really appreciate the partnership and continue to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Got one more. I'll go ahead and call Chief Grimes up right now. Chief has a special announcement for us today.
Yeah. We have good news. We went through our insurance audit, our insurance services organization set ISO, which sets our insurance rates back in November. They sent us our results about 2 weeks ago. We maintained our ISO classification of 2. In 2014, we scored an 80.14, which just did put us inside the ISO 2 rating. We just scored an 86.3, so we're only 3.7 points off from being an ISO classification of 1. That was with some work that we've all put together through our new water distribution systems that Mr. Griffith and all has, been a key in you guys as well. Also, the sheriff's office, they made some improvements in their communication center, and we've made some at the fire department. So we really do have a goal looking forward in the future and seeing if we can close in on those other 3 points and get us to be an ISO 1. The average ratings, it's a scale of 10 being no fire service at all, and 1 being the absolute best you can do. There's only 0.4% of fire departments in the nation that are R2, out of tens of thousands of fire departments. And it really does save you a lot of money on your homeowner's insurance if your homeowner's insurance uses the ISO schedule, which most of them do. So we're just happy to announce today that we're going to maintain and we'll get another test in the next 5 years. They run on a 5-year average. So,
congratulations. Next up, public comment. Item number 2 on the agenda is public comment. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No action will be taken on topics of discussion. If you are here for public comment, please fill out your yellow speaker's card and we will call you up in order. First up, I'm going to go ahead and, just out of order, Ms. Robertson said she's going to speak during public comment as opposed to with item 6 on the agenda, so we're going to take her now. Lynn Robinson, 410 South 9th Street. Please come forward at this time.
Thank you. so much for having me here. I came to see you all about this time last year, and after we talked about the dangerous through trucks that are against the law, City of Palatka, and zoom down State Road 20 through the Krill and South 9th Corridor, I decided to do two things. One, I started a petition, and the petition has 300 names. I got tired, I stopped. The businesses who signed this petition are Barkin Lots, Middle Smith and Hill, Four Seas Construction, Putnam Bike, Shear Transformation, Papa Gringo, Lori's Restaurant, High Cotton, Fizzy Med, Ribs Cleaners, The Music Store, The Copy Shop, Angla's Hair Saloon, City Shipping, Copy Shop, Grand Gables Inn, Bartram Inn, and the Welcome Center. That's 18 businesses. Some of the organizations who were all for it were One Putnam, Keep Putnam Beautiful, the South Historical District, Putnam Historical Society, the Women's Club, the VFW, the Unitarian Church. Now, the second thing that I did was call the DOT, and they said that they would do a survey. They found that 9,900 cars, vehicles, school buses, tankers, trucks go down the South 9th and Krill Corridor each day. This has dropped off since South 9th has been ripped up since September. But I think this is a really teachable moment for the public, because we need to protect our citizens, our business, our visitors, many of whom signed the petition. So there are three things that could happen. We need enforcement, we need better signage, and we need the state to intervene, put this on the GPS. Whether it is the official truck route per ordinance of 119, or as Mr. John Browning suggested, just simply rerouting State Road 20 to 119. This is done in many communities. I'd really like to thank the people that helped me. Mayor Hill has been receptive. Really, the Palatka News has been wonderful about reporting the problem and publishing my letters. I want to thank you very much. And Mr. Tate Miller, whose daughter's school bus was smacked by a semi, was very encouraging and supporting. Kathleen Story helped me gather these signatures, as did Chris of Sheer Transformation. Right now, traffic along that corridor is a trickle because of the rip-up of South 9th. Yet there are still trucks. The trucks are 24/7.
30 seconds.
Thank you. 24/7, 7 days a week, 12 months a year, and I know because I live on the corner. Now, I think it's real significant that all these folks are for curbing the trucks, and I think that in future, traffic is going to grow immensely because surrounding areas are growing, and we ought to look at traffic as a whole on that corridor. Building a traffic circle would be nice. Rerouting 20 would be nice.
10 seconds.
Enforcing. That's it. My swan song. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Any comments from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next speaker, Mr. Douglas Hayes, 216 Hilltop Road, Satsuma.
Hello there, I'm Douglas Hayes. I happen to be running for County Commissioner District 3. The reason I'm here today, though, is to address the $30,000 expenditure pool of money for an individual to tell us how to spend our money. So you recall that not long the Marketing 101 is where that the community leaders are having problems with agreement on those items. So anyway, that's my input. The next thing is in regards to what we have to offer. Look at the Clean Motor Vessel Act. There is a non-competitive grant in regards to a pump-out station. If one of our target audience is the motor boater and the sailboater and the yachter, is that we would be the only one within a 10-mile span to have the availability of a sewage pump-out station. Our competitors for the fleet that comes out of Jacksonville is Green Coast Springs. They do not have one, so we could be the first in the area. Palatka does have one. Free money, okay? The next thing is go to visitflorida.com. When the traveler comes to the Florida state line, there is a nonprofit organization that's contracted by the state, and that's the welcome mat when they look at their phone and they go Florida. It says Visit Florida. I recommend that you have your economic development team review it and see what it takes to move us up in the rankings. From my perception is that it seems that they're doing a lot of promotion for the Swanee River and Swanee River area. So I think a good agreement as to what we want to offer on that welcome mat is a free service. And at the same time, to fight for promotion to be higher up on the list. The next thing is that,
Got 1 minute left.
okay. Let's see, I actually made notes. Oh, okay. The final thing is in regards to some funding, because I won't have time to wait my turn for the next input, but where there's an organization that's going to ask for some money, I strongly recommend to ask them, have they held a fundraiser? Have they utilized the crowdfunding system via the internet, like GoFundMe, that kind of thing? There's roughly 25 different outfits where they can reach out via internet, and there might be somebody in Nebraska that has passion for kids and kid education. And then is the money going to be used for grant matching? I feel that it's not fair to the citizens to take their tax dollars and redistribute the wealth to a nonprofit. Back on the farm, we used to call that socialism. I do offer the suggestion, though, is to create a coalition, because they're not the only organization that's struggling for money,
5 seconds.
is to create the Putnam County Charity Coalition and put a pickle jar at all the convenience stores and people can donate money, and I bet you'll generate almost $2 million a year. Thank you very much. God bless.
Okay. Thank you. And just for the record, Mr. Hayes, we already have the cleanup coming. We already have it. We're just waiting to install it. Thank you. Next up, and I'll let you guys pick, Lori or Kevin McCarthy. Kevin's been selected. 211 Kirtland Street.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Commission. Thank you for this opportunity for me to be here. I just want to start off with giving some praise. We're proud Palatkans living in the South Side, and we were informed today. We're really thrilled about the potable water lines coming in, but I had a gentleman knock on our door, one of our city staff members, and said, hey, I just want to let you personally know that I know you spent a lot of time, your wife and you spent a lot of time putting this beautiful landscaping in. We've adopted the easement, but the water line's going to go right there. It's going to go right there. Oh. We have a dozen crepe myrtles down the road. We're really happy about it. But furthermore, their intentions were to possibly go across the street, and the stretch from Emmett all the way down to River Street is going to be, the line is going to go there, so the trees have to go, there's 100-year-old trees going in front of those houses. And two of the last remaining buggy steps in the city, historic monuments. Anyway, but we had a nice little conversation. The contractor came over, and then Lori and my wife spoke to some city staff member, talked to Vito, president of the Southwest Neighborhood Association. I just want to say that I think in the nature of a community as wonderful as this, it's great that we can work collaboratively and we can work together with better communication. I'm hopeful that we can come up with an alternative solution that we can maintain not just the integrity of a beautiful historic neighborhood, but also what makes it beautiful is the vegetation, the trees, and all of that. So I think we can come to a solution that will be amenable to all of us. And on that note, though, I wanted to indicate that we did have a little concern. We saw the stormwater project going on down in Morris, and there was a lot of brickwork that was removed, and we were assured those bricks would be returned somewhere in the neighborhood, and I don't know whatever happened to them. So obviously we're the tree huggers, we love the bricks, but we just want want to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood. And, and interestingly, yes, I coach over here. So the other part too, that stormwater, I thought was interesting. One of the houses on Emmett Street, they put the drain right in the middle of somebody's little walkway. So it's a little tripping hazard. You have to get the mail. It's kind of there. So we're like, ooh, a little concerned. So I think what I'm trying to get at is it's great that we can work together. We're a small community with great staff people and great citizens. If we work together, have better communication, get feedback from the citizens as we go forward with this project, it would be really wonderful if each of the neighborhoods could maybe have some sort of a town hall type meeting where we go over the plans and you get feedback from the people that actually live in the communities. It would be very helpful so that everybody can be informed of the needs of the community, but also understand, like, I thought it would be great to tear up the sidewalks, put new sidewalks in, put the pipes underneath it, but it looked, it's like $9 a square foot for I mean, it's expensive. So I understand sidewalks are expensive, but hopefully we can come up with a wonderful solution, working collaboratively, and everybody will be happy. And I believe that's all I had. So thank you again.
Thank you. And that guy in the pink shirt in the back,
Yeah.
he can definitely help you.
Your president is back there, so.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Lord
You
McCarthy,
recognize him.
are you coming as well?
The other.
He's barely the speaker of the two of us, but just to piggyback what he was saying, I did plant a lot of crepe myrtles to beautify my area. I own that turf and I water it and I'm taking care of it. And they're looking at taking out 10 of my plants, and if I had been notified in a more timely manner, I would have been able to put them in pots. I mean, now's horrible timing for crepe myrtles to pull those out of the ground. I'll probably lose all of them, and I can't afford to replace them, as well as those. It's heartbreaking to see 150-year-old trees being ripped out of the ground. Those cannot be replaced. The sidewalk can, and while we're talking about sidewalks, they need to be replaced. They're tripping hazards. We did bring that up a year ago and sent a picture actually, and it's gotten worse since then, several inches deep, a whole pothole in our sidewalk where it's sinking in where those water lines are that they're trying to replace ultimately. 2 houses down across the street, we have a blind woman living there, directly catty-cornered, a man in a wheelchair, and there are several elderly residents in our neighborhood. And I feel like it's more important to look at, again, collaboratively speaking, I would like to see us preserve those trees, preserve those buggy steps. That would be a sin and a crime. You cannot replace that. To pull out historic steps. I mean, dating back 100+ years ago, you cannot replace that. And the guy said, well, we would put them back. Well, they said they would put the bricks back that they took down the street. I saw them carry them off in a dump truck. They did not take pictures or record what they looked like before they took them away. I don't even know where they took them back. And I went there today, a year later. They are not back. I don't know where they are. And the historic district would like our bricks back. They belong to us. And
We didn't steal them, we still have them. So they're still there.
so I just want to protect the jewel of this Palatka town that brought us here was that we saw the historic district, we fell in love and we wanted to be here. And we thought, wow, this city has so much potential. And I've got so many people that have said, this city, oh my God, this city has so much potential, and that's why we came. And then we see sad things like this happen. That one last thing before I run out of time, I've also seen that I'm concerned about is trash. There'll be piles of trash on the side of the streets that sits there. I mean, long enough for for example, old lead. I got it when the hurricane came, of course, it was a mess we all had to clean up. But trees will be just this past month or two that will sit there for months. I feel like
10 seconds.
piles of trash, and it just, again, takes away from the beauty of this historic district that I've fallen in love with.
5 seconds, just 1 second. Any comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we can get, I actually spoke to you via phone today. I received a call and then we ultimately connected, and I brought the concern as promised to Jonathan, and I want him to give the same statement that he gave to me to give you a little bit of reassurance with regards to some of the things that you and your husband addressed.
Thank you.
Mr. Griffin?
And again, I am going to meet with the South Side at 6:30 Monday night. And again, a lot of the stuff you're talking about is in our future plans. The brick road restoration, obviously that has to happen after we get the utility pole. That's water and sewer and storm. You were recently awarded a $1.5 million stormwater project, which will help to reset all your curbs and address some of your flooding and failing stormwater pipes. The brick has been salvaged in areas that in non-historic areas. It's coming back to your area just like it did to the north side recently. I will meet with you personally, probably before or after the meeting on Monday. We'll do our best to slide that line within the parkway and avoid your trees. We will have to impact some of your landscaping, but it's important to keep that line where it's accessible for future maintenance. The steps are staying. We did that just in the north side where we picked them up, preserved them, and replaced them. And again, when it comes to historic trees, we spent close to $5,000 to have an arborist on site on the north side going past one of our heritage trees. So we're going to take the same care when we work in your neighborhood, I promise. I actually own property in your neighborhood, so I do care.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you guys for your concerns as well. Is there anyone else here for public comment at this time?
I want to tell them, I'd like to talk to you afterwards. I stay on 9th Street, and they're getting ready to take my trees, and they're trees that my parents planted. But we got to look at what is it going to do for our drainage and our people getting water that's not rusty, and all of the sewer lines that causing the streets to fail, and look at both sides of it, the way so that we get the best possible thing for more people that need it. Because we do need that drainage, and we do need new water lines, really bad.
And we're trying as much as we can. The residents in North 3rd Street have just lived through a nightmare with the stuff that they have going on. They've been extremely patient. I think the final product is one that's very acceptable. But again, it was an opportunity to restore the historic nature of the roadway, to expand it a little, but also to deal with some of the sewage issues that we had before. And so from that perspective, I think ultimately it's going to be worth the wait. It's frustrating to be there in that position, and they were well over a year as a post-hurricane incident. But when you look at the beauty of the street and the neighborhood, you can see why they chose that area. And so we definitely understand it, and we appreciate your patience as well as everyone else as we try to correct things that have gone on for 130 years. Yes, ma'am.
Stormwater has become a big thing, especially in the last couple of years, just since the last 2 hurricanes. It's become even more of a priority, and as Mayor Hill just said, we were just awarded a $1.5 million stormwater grant for your neighborhood by St. John's River Water Management District, which Ms. Tucker's going to talk about a little bit later. And so we understand that's the draw, is the history. We're as old as St. Augustine, but our first residents were Native American. So we're going to take care, and and the reason your sidewalks are dropping and it's getting worse is because of the lack of drainage in the area. The river's so high, the water doesn't drain anymore.
Any other comments from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move forward to our consent agenda. Item number 3. Has everyone had an opportunity to review items A through D on the consent agenda? Are there any items that you wish to have removed at this time? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I suggest you remove D.
Okay.
For discussion.
I make a motion that we accept items A, B, and C on the consent agenda and pull D for discussion.
So motion on the floor by Commissioner Campbell.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McCaskill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, questions called by Commissioner Borum. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving forward to item 3D. Authorize agreement with Putnam County School District to allow use of abandoned runway at Airport Industrial Park for district bus driver training and testing.
So
Share.
I was asked to draft an agreement for your consideration.
Share.
I guess you guys
Want to share?
Yeah, just share.
Which I did, but I essentially filled in a lot of blanks, and I wanted to make sure that you, the commission, the policymakers, looked at the agreement and had your own input into any of the areas that you felt you needed to address. The information I was given was just basically that the school, DOT was requiring the school district to have an authorization to use area that they had been using previously for their CDL training on an as-needed basis. And after confirming that we're talking about an area that's not on the airport proper, because the caption and the first information I got was that it was the abandoned runway at the airport. Well, the abandoned runway at the airport is on the airport proper. But I guess this is a portion that was within the airport industrial park and is separated by a fence from the main airport, which would eliminate security concerns. But I did, obviously, at the time when it was first sent my way, that wasn't clear. In any event, I've drafted an agreement. I would appreciate you looking at the agreement because, as I said, I filled in a lot of blanks. Note that I guess item number 3, I provided that they give you written notice on each occasion that they intend to use the test area, because my understanding is they were willing to give notice, and they've been giving it to John Mule at the airport. That's what Betsy advised me of. Maybe that's the way you want it to continue, maybe not, but I've gone ahead and indicated that they should provide notice in advance of them using the test area. I understand they use it about 4 times a year, Betsy said. So there shouldn't be a big problem with them giving you notice when they're going to use it. I've also indicated that it should be used, that their use should not be conducted in a way so that it excludes use by the general public of the area. And if that's not acceptable to them, then I guess that's something I don't know whether or not they basically shut the area off and limit any access to it while they're doing their CDL testing or not. But that's one area that I inserted, like I said, filling in the blank. That may or may not be practical. I don't know what their practice is. And I also made it clear that this isn't to be interpreted in a way so that they can access the airport proper. As you all know, post 9/11, we have a lot of rules that apply to our airport, and one of them is limited access. And so any agreement that would provide anybody with basically free access to our airport proper is a problem. It'd be a problem on paper, and it'd be a problem in real life. And then finally, I put a hold harmless clause in here with blanks as to how much insurance you want them to provide for property damage and liability. And I made it a 1-year agreement, renewable, but no obligation to renew. So that's draft. It's suggestions. You're free to take out anything you want to, or add, or fill in blanks yourself. But I just want to make sure it was your agreement and not mine.
Go ahead.
They have been using this property. It's actually adjacent to, and you can see a map of the property under agenda item number, is it 5? Yeah, it's agenda item number 5. There is a map there that, is it number 5? Oh, 3D. Oh, sorry. There's 3D, but there's another agenda item here. Oh, okay. Agenda item. Yeah, I do have it under 3D. And you can see that this runs alongside K. Larkin Circle. This is CDR Systems right here. There's a road here, and then all of this is the closed runway. It's fenced from the airport here. They've been using the property, as their CDL testing site. That's what they call it. But the state FDOT, as I understand it from the emails that I've received, is now requiring them to have permission in writing in order to continue to use it as their CDL testing site. It is fenced from the airport. They don't access the airport. They come in from the other direction. CDR and those employees use this road all the time. And as you can see, there's a parking lot with the cars parked all the way next to it. But that's what they use, is that abandoned run.
Just so you know, that roadway is pretty rough.
Yeah.
It needs repaving.
We don't use it as a road.
So I've only identified the area as adjacent to K. Larkin Circle, which Betsy referenced K. Larkin Circle, I don't know what issues there are with the parking there, of what you said, who did you say it was, CD?
They're out of business.
Okay, well, I guess there's no issues with parking then.
We've got a small parking area right in the front. It's like a single, it's a
I got it.
single lane parking.
Does that road, connect with the, industrial park?
It is the industrial
It's,
park.
it's the back road.
No, I'm talking about the county's industrial park and the
It
city's
is.
adjacent.
That's
And
the
that
road
little
that leads
bit of
to it.
road is where they go from one to the other.
Yeah, that whole stretch on the opposite side of your paper is where the industrial park is.
And I'm sorry that Mr. Yule is not here. He's in Atlanta on airport business right now, but I can't say whether they do this on Saturdays or if they do this during the weekday. But they use it about 4 times a year for their testing and training for their bus drivers.
It's during the week.
It's during the week.
Let's go through the questions that Mr. Holmes had for the commission.
Basically, the first question would be at 3A, do you want notice, and if so, to whom do you want it to go to? Notice of each page. in the
City
paper.
manager, right?
I filled in the blank for John Yule.
John
He's the airport manager, and that's
So
what
he's
knows
the
me.
airport manager, I think
They need to
proper
still.
notice should come to City Hall.
City-
and then-
And then you
So
can
you're
disseminate
saying the city
information.
manager then?
Mhm.
Okay, so we can make that at 201 North
That's
Second Street.
That's the address that's on here, but his name.
Oh, you want his name?
No,
Well,
no,
I filled in the blank because right now the notice is going to him, so I simply filled in the blank. We can change it.
I would say, I also agree that it would be more proper to the city manager, and you probably ought to have an email address, but right now, we could just, we can just use the same phone number, 329 0100, let's leave it at that then. And then, do you wish it to be a non-exclusive use when they're using it? I mean, that's what I've got here now, that it, in a fashion so that it allows simultaneous use, or do you care whether or not there's a simultaneous use at the time?
Simultaneous use as in using it.
Well, if somebody else wanted to access the area, they could, but, I mean, if you, right now, I guess it doesn't matter whether it's blocked off. Sometime in the future it might, but it's a 1-year renewable agreement, so if that changes, if that circumstance changes, then you could change this provision. I'm open, I'm just looking for your guidance as to what you'd like. So if you don't care that they, I guess, rope it off or barricade it off during their testing, then we could just strike paragraph 4.
What do you think about from the safety perspective? I mean, the safety aspect of it. I'm looking at it from that safety aspect of it.
Well, it'll be safer if there's not anybody else in there.
Right, but when you say simultaneous use, did that mean that somebody else could come in and use it?
Luckily, we got an old superintendent here, and
Right.
we got the chief of police here, and
So-
chief actually has done training out in the industrial park area before.
I think it would require, it hasn't been done in the past, but we should actually block off roadways leading both ways because traffic is not really paying attention when it's coming through there. So
Okay,
it would be safer to block off those areas or required to be blocked off.
So then we'll strike 4 entirely. I don't need to, I mean, if you want me to add a requirement that the area would be blocked off from access for the public during testing, I can. Is that, if that's the commission's wish?
I would say so.
Yeah, I would too. I would think that would be safer for everybody else, because we don't want any kind of accidents, anybody getting hurt, and if they're doing testing
All
and
right.
training.
And approved by public safety.
Then, all right, during testing and approved by,
Public safety.
But didn't they say training too, testing and training?
maybe. So I'll add that at 4, and I'll just come up with appropriate language to indicate that during the time of testing or training, the area, the test area will be blocked off, and that public safety will be notified.
Yes.
All right.
Do they have like a time period that they test? Is it all day, 8 hours, or?
I do not know.
It's usually multiple days, depending on the size of or the number of individuals that have to do the training. But it's usually multiple days, and it's only during or most of the time it's only during the work hours, so we shut down more, so about 5.
But they've used it with CDR, with CDR being active in the past, that hasn't been an issue, that's correct, so it shouldn't be an issue now.
Okay. And then finally, paragraph 6, I provided that they'd hold us harmless from anything that happens while they're doing their testing and training. And I provided blanks for the amount of coverage that you wished, 1 for personal injury and 2 for property damage. You can leave that in, take it out, and if you leave it in, I need some numbers as to how much, what your limits of liability are for property, injury and death, and then property damage.
What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, I would say it's whatever the policy limits are
I'm here to
already.
protect the city.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, I would leave it in, and I would put limits in there of at least a couple $1 million.
Okay, that's what we,
At least on property, on PI and death, I'd go a couple million, and on
Okay.
property damage, I don't know, that's not as much, but I'm not a big deal on that one, 500 grand.
yes, sir. Okay.
But the thing is, the district's fleet policy probably bigger than that.
Probably is.
Probably $5 million policy.
Yeah, it probably is.
Can we just put it, whatever it is that their coverage is already, so that they don't have to purchase more?
They'll come back to it. That covers it, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. At that point, you got it, Larry. Is that a motion?
I make a motion that we,
You can make a motion to approve based
I make a
upon the
motion
findings you
to
got.
approve based on the suggested changes that we just made.
Second.
Motion on the floor, discussion in second. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 4, voluntary media consent and release. Authorize execution of a release in exchange for a donation of termite treatment for the Gentleman House, Florida Pest Control, and Douglas Products and Packages LLC.
This is an item that came to us from it actually came from Florida Pest Control. Would you like to come on?
I can, or just, if anybody has any questions, that's what I mean, actually.
You know, I do.
Right. As you all know, the Art League occupies the Tillman House. They have a nominal lease on the building. They've been running a fundraiser because it needs some repairs and it needs termite treatment first before they can make any of the repairs, because a lot of the repairs are because of the termite infestation. So they have approached Florida Pest Control about donating the work. Florida Pest Control has graciously donated the manpower, the tent, and I believe the lift. Yes, and then Douglas Products is donating the gas for the termite treatment. And so Douglas Products has offered us a voluntary media consent and release, which they'd like for us to sign, because we own the Tillman House, which will allow them to, and I'll let the city attorney speak to the voluntary media consent and release, in order for them to donate the gas.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have major concerns, not about the generosity of Florida Pest or Douglas, but if you've read this agreement, it doesn't take an attorney to be concerned in that, first, it's irrevocable. You give an irrevocable right to use. If you read the language, though, it's without any restriction, including but not limited to composite or distorted representations. I don't like the word distorted representations. We waive any right to inspect or approve any media release. They own the copyright, and we release and hold them harmless from any liability or damages of any kind, including but not limited to misappropriation of name, invasion of privacy, slander, libel, defamation, false light, or other claims based on the use of the above described material arising out of the use or publication of the media. All I can do is tell you as a lawyer that scares me to death for a client to say that someone can use distorted. If you give it its literal meaning, you have no control over how this image or portrayal is used, and they specifically say that you're going to waive any claim of misappropriation of name, invasion of privacy, slander, libel, defamation, false light. So I'm not attributing any bad motive to anybody, but on the other hand, if anything is done with that image or the story of what is going on that amounts to a misleading representation or anything. You have no control. You have no remedy. So with that, I'm giving you my concerns, and as I advised Betsy, you're the policymakers. You can choose to do what you want, but I want to be on record as saying that release is not something that any lawyer is going to advise their clients to sign, in my opinion, at least.
I just have one question. What is the value of the gas that's being donated
The value-
versus the value of what you're doing?
The value of what the gas is anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500. The value of what we're doing for the total job, you're looking at probably about $4,500. Now this document is directly from Douglas Products. It has nothing to do with Florida Pest Control. They asked us to get y'all to sign it,
So I have one more question.
Okay.
If Douglas was not donating the gas, it would cost between $1,200 and $1,500.
That's the gas. Now the total job would be around
Right.
$4,500.
And would you still donate that if Douglas was not donating
I
the
can't
gas?
say that.
Okay.
I can go back to my district supervisor, and then he would contact the owner of the company who's been involved with this, and then it just asked me to come here to answer some questions, but you're asking me questions I can't even answer.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that if someone else paid the $1,200 to $1,500 value for the gas, would Florida Pest Control still do the rest of the work?
I still can't answer that, to be honest with you.
Well, I feel, if our attorney has questions, that should put up a red flag to us.
Yes.
And I would suggest that some type of communication happen between the city attorney, the city manager, as well as both parties that represent Florida Pest Control and the other body as well, just to see what they can do to come up with a resolution that lessens our attorney's concerns.
Okay. I can give Mr. Holmes' phone number and give it to my district supervisor and go from there. That's basically all I can do.
We need to push this out, we need to postpone this to another.
Definitely.
Well, I'll make a motion to table this meeting, and in the process, you work with the city attorney and the other parties to come up with a mutual agreement between the city and the parties to where we lower the threshold where it would put the city in predicament or whatever.
The motion on the floor to table, the second by Commissioner McCaskill. Any discussion? I have a quick comment, and it's a point of consideration. We need to think closely about $1 leases to organizations with riverfront property or any other property that can't maintain the property, and what its value is compared to what we're getting for a community. You're talking about a historic home on the riverfront where they're at a point where they can't afford to take care of it, and you're paying $1 for the lease. You're selling merchandise. You provide a service to the community as a whole, and you can't afford to maintain this property without the assistance of the grant programs or whatever else may be there. Those are all things that the city can do exclusively. Without that, it may be an opportunity for us to look at, is it really worth it for us to take a piece of property that probably has the equivalent of at least $400,000 or more right now and continue to lease it out for $1 a year, or should we be looking for alternative sites that we may have available for the entity?
And can I bring to your attention the reason the city owns that property? Since I've been here, they bought that whole section where they park stuff. They thought eventually it would be used for waterfront parking. The house seemed to be a little, at the time, where they didn't want to get rid of it, and our city manager suggested that we let somebody use it. They came and asked to use it. So you can kind of put that in your thoughts when we talk about what we need to do.
My thought is, we've got a brand new parking lot across the street. We've got an adjacent lot to that property which has significant value, and we finally have dirt turning and changing hands in this community. we need to think about highest and best use of property that we have, and if we're getting a true return. So, that's it. Any other discussion? Seeing none, questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
We'll get in contact with you.
Okay, sure.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, Mr. Townsend. Request to fund $1,250 for 3 years to help fund the cost of the Vista employee. Tom Townsend on behalf of Communities and Schools, Putnam County.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much for your time. First I want to say thank you, and the 20 minutes, 30 minutes I've been here thinking about the partnerships and how successful they've been. So before the mayor or someone else makes a comment about me walking up with a hat in hand, I want you to know that we're talking about partnerships here.
Are you going to pass the hat?
Yeah.
I don't have no money to drop in there.
Yeah. They to pass it.
No, a few years ago, Communities and Schools disbanded for a variety of reasons. Lack of funding, who knows, you can go into it. But they've operated here for many years. With Patty Sheffield, a former teacher and volunteer in the schools, remembered how valuable it was and said, you know, we need to start this back up. And I agreed, and we joined the board. But in the past year working, we have specifically said from the beginning, how are we going to build an organization that's sustainable, that's not susceptible to these funding swings that happen through the state, and help the kids in the school. We feel very strongly about communities and schools and how they operate and their structure. And we want to make sure we build it that way. But after working at Mosley specifically for a year, focusing on absenteeism, and as a board saying the most important thing is to make sure that our good intentions have positive results and don't become a burden to an organization that's already strapped. We started work. And what we soon found out, as many working boards I think in this community do, that timing's important. And it's important to have somebody that we believe that we can direct full-time to work on the school's timeline for whether it's collecting data, reaching out to parents, getting forms, all the logistics that go along with making an organization work. And even though we've been very pleased with the success that we've had, we're really thinking about long-term and how are we going to do this. So what we decided was it was really time to see, before we go out fundraising, and the gentleman, I don't know if he's still here, that spoke about his opinion on the 501(c)(3). He had some great ideas. I'd love to get his name and reach out to him, because that is what we want to do. But before we go out into the community, we want to say, you know, we have commitments from these partners, and the partners that we thought were the most practical to do that were the county, the school board, and the city of Palatka. Not knowing how any would accept it, but what we knew is that for that $5,000, which is what we're trying to raise, $1,250 from the city commission, $1,250 from the county, and $2,500 from the school board, every year for 3 years. We know that that will give us the time to really see whether or not we're going to be successful in building the structure as is needed. And that is being able to hire a full-time director and move the mission forward, somebody that will assist in fundraising, all the work, basically. The board, the autonomous board, use what it is set to do, and that's its network capabilities, so that we can make sure that we reach out in the community, not as a bird, not as somebody with a hat in hand, saying these are the things you do, here's what we're trying to do, does it match up? We believe we can do that. We know, I mean, we all know, particularly with economic development, there's probably not anything more important than schools. So there seems to be momentum in Palatka and in Putnam County right now moving forward. And we thought this was a good time to say, you know what, this really is a good value. I wish I could tell you, hey, just do this and we're off and running, it's going to work. But we don't know that. We are going to be diligent in looking for funding sources that are sustainable, that move our mission forward and help improve our schools. And we think this is the way to do it. So what I would like to leave with you, as I did with the county, who, and I'd be the last person to say, hey, they're doing it, why aren't you? But, you know,
But you're gonna do it anyway.
I just followed.
You see it, Ms. Sheffield.
Right.
I hear it, I see it.
No, but what I do want to say to you is just the work that we've done.
Yeah.
Has been very valuable, and we've learned a lot. I think we're going to be able to be that feedback or a place of feedback for the school district to say, you know what, here's some things you might want to look at. We've already learned some things that people have felt, whether they didn't know how to work the system or didn't understand it, but they felt like it wasn't working for them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a place that we can really help. I will say this, I think if you are able, certainly I know your hearts and your intent is you'd like to fund all these many wonderful things that come before you. But if you are able, the $1,250 that we're asking for, I feel very confident in saying that that's going to give us a great value if nothing else ever did happen for the next 3 years, because it's money that we put together that is matched by the state, communities and schools, and will give us that full-time employee. So anyway, we're here asking you to consider that and answer any questions that you might have.
Yes. If I may at this time, I'm going to recuse myself from this item simply because I serve on the board as a treasurer for community and schools.
That was the only vote I could count.
So you're, are you serious? Did you just say that? I want to ask this. You say that, so basically if you get the $15,000, the state's going to match the $15,000.
It's $5,000. It's $1,250. We're going to raise $5,000. But it's even more than just getting the $5,000. We think it's important that we're able to go out into the community and say, here are our partners that are the basis for what we're beginning to do. And they're giving us the time to help us. So it really is seed money based on our almost a year of work of what would be the most valuable thing we could get at this time. And who is it that we could approach? I have been in business in this community before for 15 years. Many people come hat in hand. But we're hoping to have what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a spirit about what this is. What is it that you have to offer? And we hope to take, should we be successful, but whoever the contributors of the $5,000, we hope to take that out to the others and say, here's what we have. Now, here's what we would use your money for, because I think it's specific. But I do want to emphasize, should you decide to give this money, it will only be used for this. If something happened, then we wouldn't use the money. That's what we want to use it for.
This is the point where you talk about the benefit to the citizens of the city of Palatka and how a lot of these grandparents in particular come from the city and how this would be beneficial to sustain those programs.
Well, it's also for $1,250. It does create a full-time position at the poverty level, which is $13,700 in Putnam County. As far as city at this time, and I won't commit to this, but right now we're focused strictly on Mosley, which is a school that's certainly in dire need of help. But I will give some anecdotal stories that we have found, because as you, I think as everybody realized, and certainly those that are employed with the school district, the restraints are sometimes unbearable. Parents feel the same way. So what we have found with a specific list of approximately 20 students that we've given as we've reached out to those parents, there are issues such as I don't have transportation, I can't do anything, and I'm sorry if my son doesn't come and he's late. Well, we do have a network, and we do know people that can help, and that's what we do. Then we go and reach out, so we get that going. We've had parents, and certainly if anybody wants to chime in, had one that just said, listen, my child has a chronic illness. I'm not going to bring a doctor's note every 3 days, but I can call them and they don't charge me. That's something, and just knowing that we want to go to the school board and recommend a policy change on how we count that. Yeah. But those aren't things, given the restraints that the school board is under, that people have to, these are the ones that get lost in the cracks.
Sheffield, yes, I'm not.
Well, to add to that about the child, I did talk to the principals about that, and they are making some allowances for that. Because the mother has a job in St. Augustine, she also has a job over here, so she's coming over here, leaving St. Augustine at 7 to try to get her child to Mosley at doing well.
And it was because of you all that you found out the root causes and were able to get this ball running. But I would, if I may, Mayor, are you Miss Lisa? Can we hear from her and the role that she plays and how CIS? Yes.
This is one of our board members.
Absolutely.
CIS Lisa.
So I want to share your role.
Well, I can talk to you from the foster grandparent.
That's what I want to hear.
Perspective.
Yes.
The Foster Grandparent Program is a federally funded project through the Corporation for National Community Service. It is the same federal organization that funds the VISTA, which is Volunteer in Service to America, which is what we're looking to receive funding for. So the foster grandparents basically work one-on-one or in small groups with children that have special needs. So you're out at C.H. Price, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and so we have 2 volunteers that serve in a special needs class at that particular school. But we're pretty much throughout the district. So we're at Mosley, Mellon, James A. Long, Browning Pierce, down at Middleton, Bernie, Aquila. So pretty much we're covering the whole area, and we're always looking for volunteers for that project. But we just realized as we're going into the schools, their students have just diverse needs, and pretty much that's really the crux of what Communities in Schools is. The model is to find out what barriers children have and their families have and help to fill in those gaps. So as an organization, Communities in Schools can help to broker in services that are needed. So if children need food, clothes, need assistance with medical, with transportation, that's kind of like the whole picture. And the purpose is to try to get a sites coordinator at schools, and hopefully as Communities in Schools builds itself back up, we'll be able to get a site supervisor to help some of our most at-risk kids to really pair them with the services that they need to move forward and to be successful. And so the foster grandparent part of things is just one way that we help to build bridges and loving, caring relationships where kids, have the nurturing that they need and that extra support and encouragement, and to get them through some basic literacy things and whatnot.
Mayor, I would like to say that you all need to tell people more of what it does for the grandparents too.
Oh yes,
oh my God.
It's just.
And when you talk to any of them that are going out there with those kids, that's what they live
And
for.
they're there. You can count on them.
Oh, I know.
And I just have to share my story about a grandparent in my classroom. I'm starting out at Price Middle School, and I started out teaching math. However, special needs students have a special place in my heart. So I started teaching in that classroom, and that grandparent, I got one in my class, and I can count on her the days that she was supposed to be there. Whatever. And I had a student, when I took over that class, he was actually in 8th grade, and he was not able to read. And by the time we were done at the end of the year, I put that grandparent with that student, and that little boy was reading. And I'll never forget calling Miss Gilliard in that classroom and saying, you need to listen to this little boy read. But that was that grandma. When we call them grandmas, the grandma coming in every day and working with that child one-on-one, and he looked forward to seeing her, and his attendance rate went up because he wanted to be there for her just like her wanted to be there for him. So I just tell you, that's my story, that's my takeaway.
With that being said, I just make a motion to.
You want to ice the cake a little more.
I just got one question to ask Logan. Do we got the money?
Well, I think I'll make a motion to approve the $1,250 based on the conditions that you have as it relates to that. I think the city should be a partner in this. After all, the school resides in the city, and we're here to help improve the quality of life for our students. So.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor in a second. There comes a point where you can close the sermon out and ask for the offering. If there's any unreadiness, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Woo-hoo.
I think the good thing about this is, just so that we have it for the record, this serves a benefit to the city of Palatka as well, particularly with Mosley being a target, but also with the number of grandparents who are there. And I think when we look at why we're using city funds for a program such as this, there's a direct benefit to our citizens and our children, and particularly our seniors and our youth and the families as a whole. And I think overall in the entire community, and this is a great program. So we definitely appreciate you guys coming.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank
y'all. Thank you.
Thanks for having the city as a partner.
Yes, thanks.
If I may real quick, when the county also was so generous, it was clear we didn't ask for enough, and we gave them an opportunity to up that. We would like you to do that.
You only got one shot.
Thank y'all so much, Tom.
All
You ain't out in 2 minutes, too, Tom.
All right, Mr. Townsend, your time is up. Moving on to item number 7, public hearing, planning board recommendation to annex 205 Ski Club Road, amend future land use map designation from Putnam County, U.S. Urban Services to City RL residential low density, and rezone from Putnam County R1HA residential single family to City R1 single family residential. Khalid Perez, applicant. Item A, annexation ordinance, second reading.
An ordinance of the City of Palatka, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Palatka, Florida, certain adjacent territory identified as 205 Skeet Club Road, located in Section 3, Township 10 South, Range 26 East, public records of Putnam County, Florida, contiguous to the boundaries of the City of Palatka, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor in a second. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion?
Question?
Questions called, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 8, moving on to item B, 7B, future land use map ordinance, adoption.
An ordinance of the City of Palatka, Florida, providing that the official zoning map of the City of Palatka, Florida be amended from Putnam County R1HA residential single family to City R1 single family residential for the following properties: 205 Ski Club Road, Section 3, Township 10 South, Range 26 East, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Markowski, seconded by Vice Mayor Brown. We're now open the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Questions called, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on, item C, rezoning ordinance, second reading for adoption.
An ordinance of the City of Palatka, Florida, providing that the future land use map of the adopted comprehensive plan be amended with respect to the following parcel of land, less than 10 acres in size, from Putnam County, U.S. Urban Service to RL Residential Low Density for 205 Skeet Club Road, located in Section 3, Township 10 South, Range 26 East, providing for a severability and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor in a second. We're now open the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called by Commissioner Borum. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 8, public hearing ordinance. Planning board recommendation to rezone 6805 and 6813 St. John's Avenue to R3. Multifamily residential PUD. Planned unit development for the cottages at St. John's. The Palmer Group is the applicant. First reading.
An ordinance of the City of Palatka, Florida, providing that the official zoning map of the city from Palatka, Florida be amended from Putnam County undefined and City R3 multiple family to PUD R3 planned unit development multiple family for the following properties: 6805 and 6813 St. John's Avenue, Section 9, Township 10 South, Range 26 East, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
Mr. Lockman, presentation for us. Also, we have the Palmer Group here as well.
Yes, sir. Steve Lockman, Planning Director. This item has been advertised. There is a copy of the presentation and a enlarged copy of the site plan on the dais for your review. We have to have a very limited audience. I'm going to move very quickly through the PowerPoint. If you have any questions, stop me. I'll be happy to answer them. There are 2 parcels located on the south side of St. John's. The orange parcel to the right has the R3 zoning. The red parcel to the left does not. So there's a rezoning that precedes the PUD for the left parcel. For the PUD, the parcels are combined into one complete development. As you can see, it's located next to the Foxwood subdivision to the east. The property to the west and to the south is in the County urbanizing area. It's currently not designated for any development. Across the street, we have the industrial park and we have the apartment complex. The first part of it, I just said this. This is a view of the property as it appears from the aerial. You can see there's quite a few trees on the property. A little bit of the part on the west has been, I guess, in silviculture at some time, but for the most part, it's just wild trees that's growing there. This is just another view of the property from the street. Another view of the sign that's on the property. This is the apartment complex, Woodland Park, across the street to the northeast. This is just a description of the surrounding land use and zonings of the different parcels. The R3 zoning is correctly assigned to the high-density residential land use. Both parcels are in high-density residential land use. So we suggested that we rezone the property to the R3 zoning. Staff analysis, the R3 zoning is consistent with the future land use that is designated on the site. The site planning issues will be addressed within the PUD, which is accompanying this approval also. Now for the PUD, we have 18.55 acres total. There will be 194 duplex units. They share common courtyards. There's one manager's unit where we get the odd number 195. There's clustered parking, there's a clubhouse, there's a pool, there's a recreation area included in the project. This is from the code. It's an abbreviated version of the intent of a PUD. Essentially, PUDs are done to create more creative planning concepts, more cohesive communities. They encourage a variety of housing types. It's also required by our code to be a PUD. This PUD has 10.5 units per acre. The applicant has asked that the parking spaces be allowed to be only 18 feet long instead of 20. 18 feet is not an uncommon minimum standard in some communities, so I didn't see any adverse concern about that. The common clubhouse, pool, and recreation areas are provided in this PUD. The higher density, more efficient use of the land, smaller network, lets you have a smaller network of utilities and streets. It keeps the development cost and the maintenance cost and the housing costs lower within a community. And this is a housing type which we don't have a lot of in the market. It's a new housing project, which is something we have not seen much of in this community for some time. These are the standards in the code for a PUD. We reviewed the unity of the PUD being in one ownership under common control. We looked at the density, we looked at the access, we looked at the internal lot frontages. In this case, they're fronting on those common courtyards. Open space has been identified. All utilities shall be underground in this project. And parking has been identified as 2 spaces per unit for each of the 195 units. This is the plan which the PUD is going to be attached to the PUD approval if approved. It illustrates the 2 entrances off of St. John's, which is to the left in this diagram. The north arrow points to the left here. The clusters of development are better illustrated in some of the smaller site plans. Now this is a color version of that, which better illustrates how the courtyards are arranged. You can see the units are duplex units. They're front to back. So a unit fronts on one courtyard to one side, and the other unit fronts to the next courtyard on the other side. And that's how you get duplexes here out of these units. Each of the red units is 2 units back to back. There is a mixture of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units in the project. The center is a retention pond, by the way. That's just where the drainage will be going. The clubhouse and the pool are up next to the street to the left there. This is one of 7 or 8 attachments to the ordinance. Now, there's a lot of discussion at the planning board level. We had 2 meetings with the planning board discussing details about how this PUD would work and function, and what assurance we would have ultimately that the whole plan would be consistent with our desire, with our standards, and with our goals and our plans. So what we have done, rather than have the applicant engineer the entire site in detail, which would be uncommon for a project of this scale, we've had the applicant identify these detailed drawings, and we have details attached to the ordinance. We have an engineer's letter, which speaks to the standards for drainage. We have a common maintenance agreement. We have a site plan summary. We have a cluster drawing like this one. We have a stormwater detail. We have lighting and utility plans. We finally have a landscape detail, all of which illustrate a segment of the project and will be applied to the entire project. Now, if the PUD is approved, there would be a next step for the applicant to come back to staff with a very detailed engineered drawing with all these details for all sections of the project. But the applicant and myself, I'm reviewing this, the PUD is more typically generalized. I think with these very specific details, we have good assurances of the type and nature of this project and the consistency with our code and our plan. This is an illustration that the applicant provided. It's a conceptual drawing of what one of the clusters of units would look like at the street level. The sidewalk coming from the parking lot area, up between the units, accessing the units. These units would all be front to back. So behind each one of these units would be another cluster, and another set of units facing the other direction. These are the staff findings. We reviewed all the items I've already mentioned, the density, the access, the utilities. The planning board made a recommendation for approval on March 5th. These are the conditions of approval, which are also attached to the ordinance. And finally, the staff recommendation is that you conduct the first hearing today. And if there are any questions, the applicant is here to answer those questions. And we would be prepared to return for second and final reading for a final adoption on April 25th, unless you want to specify a different date. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. And first, let me state that I attended a meeting with applicant and staff. Maybe it was the last meeting. I don't know if there were any other held after, but I'll state that I was very impressed with the applicant's willingness to address issues that had arisen earlier, specific issues involving drainage and traffic and fire protection, and really, I guess there were others too. I guess my bottom line was I had a kind of a mental list when we went into that meeting, and was both surprised and happy to see that the applicant came with a plan to address all. So, having said that, this is not in the nature of a criticism right now. My question is, and it may be to you, Steve, Mr. Lockman, at that meeting, when we had specific concerns, there were specific assurances given, such as we had JR there from the fire department, and there was an issue about being able to access water for all of the sites, and my recollection was that there was an agreement to provide residential sprinkler, and maybe that's here somewhere, but in scanning it, I didn't see that. Is that in the conditions that you've included in the PUD approval?
I believe it is. I'm going to locate that. We did have that discussion. JR, Chief Grimes, described the requirement to sprinkler units that were more than a set distance away from a hydrant, and the applicant agreed to that condition as a standard requirement that would be reviewed with the development plan. I see it specified somewhere in here.
And I guess my point is this:
I think it's in the engineer's letter, actually.
Okay, maybe it is.
In the engineer's letter from Matthews Design Group, there's a paragraph, it's about the fourth paragraph down, about fire safety. And the applicant is stating that they are going to be consistent with the NFPA regulations, and it speaks to the hydrants and to the unit rows and providing the necessary fire services.
And it's
that will be attached to the ordinance.
And it's our position that the representations contained within the Matthews Design Group letter would be incorporated into and become a part of the conditions, correct?
It is attached to the ordinance and referenced in the ordinance as a requirement.
Okay, and along the same lines, and again, I'm not criticizing because as I said, they came prepared to address a lot of issues at that meeting. The common area maintenance and ownership, maintenance, and I guess perpetual maintenance and ownership, is it addressed also?
Yes, there's a...
Because, and to explain, it's contemplated that they may sell some of these units. I don't know that they've got that plan in place right now, but they were indicating that they might in the future sell some of the units. And our concern was, my concern was that if they sell units, but we've still got common areas in play, that there'd be some entity that would accept responsibility for maintenance of the common areas, and they assured us that there would be. And I just wanted to make sure that that's one of the conditions also.
Also, as one of the attachments to the ordinance is the assurance of common area maintenance that was provided by the applicant, which explains how the property owner association would assume those responsibilities.
And then on the drainage issue, and we all know that was a big deal, the conversations that we had with some of the citizens had to do with drainage. And I heard one of the gentlemen speaking with one of the citizens just prior to today's meeting. And at that meeting we had, the staff conference we had, the statement was made by, I think it was by the engineer from Matthews, I believe, that they were committed to dealing with not only the water that fell on site, but also the water that had historically been flowing on site. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and we've addressed that, actually 3 different documents within the attachments. In the Matthews design letter, there's 2 paragraphs on drainage. There's also 2 other sheets which address drainage. There's a stormwater drainage plan, and there's also an illustration of how some of the features would work within one of the sections.
So if we can just,
That's all attached to the ordinance.
can we just, I think for the sake of reference attachments, just fill out the attachments that are referenced in your conditions, then I think it won't be any additional ambiguity. Any other concerns or questions?
No, I'm just going to say that I was very positive with the response that the applicant made, and I've been scrutinizing, let's leave it that way, from the beginning, and I think asking you to address certain issues, and I'll just say that the last meeting that was held with staff, I felt that the applicant came to the table and essentially addressed the concerns that we had been previously voicing.
Any concerns from the commission?
I hear things sound pretty good to me.
And I think kudos to everybody involved in this process. I think the commission may not be privy to kind of how long this journey's been. It's been a long journey, but I also think it's been a worthwhile endeavor, and we definitely appreciate the Palmer Group for for looking at Palatka, and also for the amount of patience throughout the process, the change in planning director as well as staff here, and also working with council to get something for this community I think everyone's going to be satisfied with. Do you guys have anything you want to say?
Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Palmer. I've had conversation with him early on in the process, and certainly like to thank you for considering Palatka for those units, investing in our community.
And I think the biggest thing is, when we look at this, you look at really the drainage issue. We had the citizens who came in and talked about some of the flooding issues they were having prior to construction. Being able to assure them that those things are in place. I think the other thing that we look at is just the fact you have a school right down the street, and we've already got issues right now as it relates to safe routes to schools with these kids walking on the side of the roadway, and bringing in another 195 units into this area creates its own sets of challenges as well. Making sure that we've got turning lanes and things of that nature in place so that we can ensure the safety of the citizens who have to travel down those roads, both from your establishment as well as from the surrounding areas, and just make sure that we deal with those concerns, the additional traffic. And when we look at this project, the reality is it could potentially be a 5% increase in population to the community as a whole. It's a significant endeavor and investment into the community. And it's another example of an opportunity for Palatka to move forward. And so, before we are, Ms. Striggers, you got something?
I do. I just wanted to also say thank you to the planning board
Oh, yeah.
Worked hard on
Awesome.
this. They
Did an awesome job.
several presentations to the planning board. We had some brand new members, so they had a bit of a learning curve, and then we had some old time members who've been through many PUD adoptions, and so we had a lot of good input there too.
At this time, I entertain a motion.
Motion
Well,
to
I got a
approve.
motion. I'm sorry, I called a question.
First reading.
Well, you
I'll
need
call
a
a question.
motion.
We already got a motion, right? No, we don't. I got a motion. We got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Moore, second by Campbell.
And that is to pass on first reading, right?
This pass on first reading. We'll open the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone else here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question by Commissioner McCaskill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
I'd like to thank you for bringing housing here, because people leave us because they say they can't find a decent place to live.
But not just housing, market rate housing.
Yeah, market rate. Affordable housing.
Next up, Ms. Robinson here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Ms. Robinson here?
Yep. There she is.
Y'all can pick.
Good evening, Ms. Robinson.
Oh, it's hanging.
Painted. Okay. Deborah Robinson. Human Resources. April 4th, April 5th, the job posting for city manager came down. We had a total of 60 applicants that applied. Human Resource Director and myself, as in the previous city manager search, did narrow down non-qualified applicants as it pertained to the job descriptions and the requirements that we asked prior to. We're down to about 11 applicants, which goes to the committee. We've made contact with Florida League. We have three advisors that will be participating in.
Well, only one will participate.
Well,
They're going to decide amongst themselves who's the best one.
right, and one's based on location as well. So they'll be involved in this next round of eliminations, which will be April 18th, which I've also included Mr. Holmes in that information as well. From there, the same day, we'll be meeting with the commission to roll over the names of the candidates that they've narrowed it down to, and then it will be in the hands of the commission to narrow that down for the interview process. We'll do the same steps as it pertains to the questions, the mini video, give you guys an opportunity to take a look at that to help you with your selection process.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Next up, city manager and administrative report. Mr. Jurgens, we're going to start off with you today.
Oh, okay. I wonder why I steal anybody's thunder. We had talked about earlier the $1.5 million grant from water management. We'll let Ms. Tucker talk about that because she is most familiar with the project. We are getting ready to kick off Census 2020. That's a collaborative effort between everyone in the community to try to get a good count for the census, which is important because that is where our state shared revenue comes from. Everything that we do pretty much depends on our numbers, our citizenship, how many are inside the county, how many are outside the county. Last census, Census 2010, we had one of the highest showings in the state, so we're hoping to do the same thing this time. But so start watching your email. I've already forwarded one article around about how you can help people remain calm about the census. It's something that they want to participate in. It's nothing to hide from. They don't release the figures for another 80 years. So
can you put that information on the website?
We can, yes. Conference call. I forwarded you all some information about a conference call that's happening on April the 12th with Congressman Yoho's office has coordinated this conference call. It's about internet broadband accessibility and service in the rural areas, which we are one of them. I'm not sure that we have a lot of issues with it inside the city limits, but they certainly have a lot of issues with it outside the city limits. So that's coming up, and I hope to get you the rest of the information on that. State audit. We had our 18-month state audit follow-up. that we had our exit meeting with the state auditors. They were here on Tuesday. We got Wednesday. We got some really good news on that. Essentially, out of the 5 findings that we had the last time, 3 of them are pretty much come to pass, and they're satisfied with how we've done it. So they've checked those out. We have 2 others. The guarantee of payments process for the CRA grants that we have. We have a repayment process depending on how many years they've been in the house. If they want to sell the house, they have to repay part of the loan. And apparently one of the homeowners sold his home for cash, didn't go through, there was no lien search done, and so that homeowner changed over the property without, and so we've got, he's gonna ding me. So I'll let Ms. Logan Becker talk a little bit more about that. It's gonna involve the city attorney. CRA TIP funds, we've also got some, we also had something with the policies being adopted and not all of the employees signing off of them, anti-fraud policy being specific one of those. And so we have an opportunity to address all of that by the time the binding letter comes out within the next 30 days. So if you want to stand up and kind of
That's fair to say.
No, you did
You
not.
did it all.
Yeah, basically, we have a
Keep going.
chance to respond to them, and we've already taken corrective action.
Right.
Period.
Period. Yeah, so that's all for me.
Okay.
Oh, I'm big.
That's
No. I do need to have a definite answer, if I can get it tonight, on who is going to be attending Rural Counties Day next week. I've got 6 hotel rooms booked. I need to know which ones that I can let go, because the chamber is in need of hotel rooms, so if not everyone is going, I need to know that tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Keep mine booked.
Let's deal with that later. Let's move on to reports. Mr. Griffith. I'm sorry, Mr. Griffith.
I'll obviously answer questions about projects, but I really just want to take this opportunity to recognize Ms. Tucker tonight for 2 reasons. The first being she just recently completed the necessary training and testing to be recognized by the Florida Redevelopment Association as a redevelopment professional. So congratulations for that, Ms. Tucker. The second being, and I don't have a total, we can probably bring that at the next meeting, but I just want to thank her for her diligent and hard work to continue to go get money for all these projects. Recently being awarded $1.5 million for a stormwater project, much needed. Ms. Tucker, thank you. I don't know if you and if that can be all for my projects, I'd be happy to.
3rd Street.
3rd Street. Punch list was developed last week. It's about a page and a half of items that the contractor has to identify. I just got word via text they're going to start Monday on those items. We'll monitor that, and if there's a follow-up punch list needed, we'll definitely issue one.
How far are we down the road now?
We're complete.
Did we pass Mr. Townsend's house?
They have.
You want me to report on this?
You're over your time.
Minus some of the bricks they got to pull back up and relay, but yeah, they're at the end. So.
And 9th Street, we're good.
I do have an update on 9th Street.
Yes, sir.
It does look as if they're not making any progress because the subcontractor is waiting on a sanitary sewer structure to be delivered. Unfortunately, the road project cannot progress until that structure is delivered. They did get word from the company that's based out of Green Cove that it is prioritized and should be coming in the next week.
Do we pass that on to the residents?
We can. We have not.
Yeah, because I got ambulance on that street.
Take Ms. Mary with you.
Don't take
You
it.
got to take, just tell them it's coming.
Make sure you bring a walker.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you. Ms. Tucker.
Well, we're all well aware now that we just got awarded a $1.5 million grant. It's for stormwater in the South Historic District. It will complete the district area. It's about 11 blocks that will combine with the 5.5 blocks that we did about 2 years ago. And it will put stormwater presence in a historic district that historically didn't really have anything there.
Then on the 5th to 14th. And then we move forward. Becker, you should be done.
Stole my thunder.
Thunder
I'm
on.
just kidding. We have another audit that we're trying to wrap up, so I'll report on that one later. And hoping that one will be as shiny as the state. But I will be sending out to the department heads their budget, so we're going to start that in the next couple of weeks. So we're in full steam ahead.
Hey, we're gonna do something different tonight since I got inspiring here. You want to stand up for us? And you've been around for a little bit. You want to tell us what's going on?
Absolutely.
I'm Corey Higgins, we work with Fire Technologies, we're doing the IT for the city now. Some of the big items I wanted to address for kind of some of the agencies we've been working through. Public Works, within the first week of being here, they kind of lost internet completely, so that was one of the biggest things we tackled. Initial, we purchased a new firewall, we get them back connected to the city, and so they're not running on the old microwave equipment, so that was one of the biggest things to get taken care of. Just yesterday, actually, I did a walkthrough with Jonathan at the potential new building the city's looking at acquiring. One of the biggest benefits, I think, from that walkthrough is there's a whole bunch of IT infrastructure there already, probably in the 5 digits worth of IT infrastructure that was left from the previous tenant. So that'll be a substantial amount, in my opinion, to weigh in whenever you're looking at purchasing the building. For some of the stuff we've done at City Hall so far, we've done some file consolidation to get rid of some of the older servers, to get rid of some of the old equipment. Kind of have an inventory of everything we have going on right now, so that'll weigh in with the new server purchase that we're looking at. We're working with the Palatka Gas Authority. They're not here anymore, but we're working on migrating all the utility programs from here to the Palatka Gas Authority. And one of the biggest things at City Hall is just verifying all the server backups are up and running now because they were on before. At the police department, again, we cleaned up some of the servers. They have a big batch of new laptops we're rolling out for them. We've also put in a new firewall over there that the city had already purchased but had not been implemented yet. So that works for the entire city. You get faster speeds, more reliability, and more security.
Get some in compliance too, right?
Yes, sir. One of the biggest things in compliance with the FDLE audit, which was my next point. FDLE has actually reached out to the police department, and their audit is coming up May 3rd. And so we've already been working through some of the policy work for them. From the security standpoint, we're going to knock out as much as we can, but due to cost right now and some of the items that we've talked about from the server infrastructure and the network infrastructure, we're not going to make quite all the deadlines we're hoping to, but they give us a period of allotment afterwards to fix some of those issues. So as we kind of get new equipment in, we'll work with them to get all that stuff knocked out. Those are the biggest points we've hit so far. I've worked with the water treatment plant on picking up. They have some old software that they need to migrate, so we'll be doing that. And talked to the fire department. We need to potentially look at redoing some of the cabling there as well, but we'll get to those points. The biggest things that are going to be upcoming is I'll be working with Ms. Becker on getting quotes for servers. We need to look at getting some of the networking equipment purchased. That will be through state contract, so that should be pretty straightforward. And then we have all the cable inspections, but we'll be putting those out in a bit shortly for the police department.
All right, sounds like our money's hard work.
I'd like to see a report. That's a high-level report, but you mentioned that you would be providing the commission with a report, a monthly report. I'd like to see if you can, type report so we can kind of read it, because
I'll get with you afterwards to get more details on what you're looking for specifically.
Right. I mean, if you could just type them up and send them in, but then whatever your priorities are as you're working through them based on what the vulnerabilities and all those things, if you're taking care of those and prioritizing those as needed. So.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Mr. Robinson. Mr. Lockman.
Yes, sir.
Good job tonight.
Can we go back to Ms. Robinson real quick?
No.
I just want to put out on the record, do we have any job openings outside of the city manager?
You got a driver position open for that building.
Equipment operator for sanitation. We're in desperate need for a certified CDL Class A or B driver.
Could you send me that so I can put it in?
Sure. I think I saw it on Facebook somewhere, but I can't remember where.
We do have a position open for an account clerk, closes tomorrow.
Can we still get those reports? We were getting them.
Which reports?
Well, available positions or whatever,
That would be HR.
they were coming through so that we can.
Chief Grimes.
Thank you again. Go down April 14th to do the final inspection on our new fire truck. It'll be here hopefully towards the end of the month. Also on March 23rd, we did our annual fire prevention public education golf tournament. It was a huge success. The final numbers aren't in yet, but I think we're going to have about $10,000 we raised for our public education.
Did I miss it? Okay.
Chief Shaw?
I must have had another event. I must have had another event or something. I don't know.
We are at the police department, been very, very active, both on the community side as well as on the law enforcement side. Speaking to the community side, we're preparing for the upcoming summer and the events that we want to do within the community, as well as making sure we work towards our crime prevention methods. I do want to touch on a couple things. I want to bring awareness to one of the employees at the police department. Captain Williams took a team assisting Tommy Cooper to the state PAL games, and they won the 14 and under state PAL championship, boys PAL championship. I want to bring awareness that Captain Williams runs our basketball program. He's our president of our police athletic league currently. He's doing quite a bit. They also are preparing for our summer program that's coming up. That information is going out to all the schools here shortly, and it's being posted on not only the police department's webpage, but PAL webpage as well. We will be sending out as much as we can as far as the start dates, and I will not, maybe Commissioner Campbell may have it off the top of his head, the start dates, that information, but I do not have it currently. But it will be up and coming, and please advise all you can to be on the lookout for our upcoming summer camp. As I said, we are being very active at the police department, and with everything that's happening with IT, the capabilities that are being provided, we're moving as fast as we can to do as much as we can here, not only currently, but in the near future.
And you also co-sponsored an event today with Lee Collins?
Yes, I did. Today, our Victims Advocate did the Victims' Rights Day. We celebrated Victims' Rights Day over at the St. John's River Center, along with Lee Conley and the community for our child awareness day. So we've been very, very busy. I'm doing a number of different things and a number of different events. And there's a couple things that I wasn't able to attend, being that I was out sick. So I'm happy that we did have somebody to stand in my place. We are moving forward, fast and forward.
Thank you, sir.
I think that covers our report. Commissioner Campbell.
To go back to what Chief stated, the dates for Camp Higher Ground is June the 10th through the July 26th. If we don't have any children but are willing to sponsor a child, the cost is $185. We do look for those opportunities for kids that necessarily cannot afford, their parents can't afford, but still they would benefit from being in a program where they're watched.
So is it $185 for the entire summer?
It's $185 for the entire summer. Also, on behalf of community and school, I would like to thank the board for making accepting the proposal that was before you on this evening. I too have stories like Ms. McCaskill with regards to having a grandparent and the benefits of community and school on Mosley campus. I see it firsthand, so thank you for that as well. And that is all, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
One thing I have is, I will not be to our next meeting because I will be to a executive board group conference in Lexington, Kentucky, and I will bring y'all stuff back.
Maybe.
Go ahead and smile, but I mean, for you to get the first back out.
So it looks like two of us that may not be there for that meeting. So do we want to just cancel that meeting. And move.
You can move it, or we can.
I'll make a motion that we cancel April 25th meeting.
You want to use the April
Reschedule.
25th or April 18th? April 25th?
You'll have a quorum if three of you are here. Keep it light.
That was scary the last time we did that.
It has student item one, so.
It is, yeah, we can't, yeah, let's do another one.
We'll be all right. We cancel it. We don't have to postpone it. I mean, we don't have to reschedule it.
Just cancel it.
Cancel.
Well, we cancel, it's a student of the month.
Unless there's necessary business that need to be covered, we cover.
If we do it in the morning, I can be there. But in the evening, I won't be able to make it.
Yeah. You're the quicker,
Keep
you're
the
your own
agenda
boss.
light.
There's a motion on the floor.
Second.
Motion on the floor in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to vote now?
No, I already did.
Carries unanimously. All right.
I won't do that no matter what.
Who was the second?
That was Commissioner
McCaskill.
So we'll double up on students for May, I guess.
Boy, you think we're gonna have one?
Something.
That's how we should do it at the school board. Boardroom.
All right, very well. That's where you're down to report?
I'll bring stuff back from this next meeting.
As usual.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner McCaskill.
Just want to thank Communities in School for what you're doing. I worked at Mosley with these teachers in my FBA Teacher Leaders Program, and one of my participants conducted research on absenteeism and what you all are doing there. So I've heard great things about you all, and I really appreciate you all stepping up and taking charge of this and coming up, asking for this. So thank you.
Commissioner Moore.
All right, I think I had requested for like insurance rating. I don't know if Betsy had a chance to look at that last.
We should receive our new work comp experience modification and all the related reports sometime in May is usually when we get
Okay.
that. I can go over with you what we've got so far for this year, where we have not got March's reports yet, so all we really have that we can look at is for the first quarter.
I can wait. I'll wait. I mean, I'll just,
May is when they pretty much get all the, and that's when we start working on our renewal.
and then whatever we can do moving forward to reduce those, address those.
We're always moving on reducing.
And the other thing too, I'm going to have a community meeting on April 15th, community at the Price Martin Center, 6 o'clock. So that's just to invite the community out. A lot of time people don't get a chance to, I guess, talk to the elected officials, and I'm just continuing to going out in the community to move about the community. So that's what I have going Tuesday and
April 15th, 6 o'clock?
Yes.
So that's Monday?
Yes, last tax day.
Unless you file for extension.
It's community outreach.
Well, I just want to say in advance, I have another board meeting planned for that.
Right. I mean, it's not mandatory. It's just,
I will
it's
be in
just.
attendance if that, so my absence
Right.
is, I'm working.
They told me they see him.
Well, no, it's just opening for the community to come. So a lot of times you invite them to come to the meetings and they don't show up. So you want to at least go and sometime hear from the community what they have in a different environment.
Yeah, you know, y'all laughing, but we go out of the love that we have for each other to each other's meetings. And a lot of times, oh, now this, you know I be in your face, so you
That's
just.
that's all I have.
Anything else, Commissioner Moore?
No, I think
I'm trying to hold it.
Mr. Shipley, can I ask you to get with Commissioner Boyle?
Yeah, I was gonna
This
get
is
with him
over, and
afterwards, yeah,
you
get
guys
some
can talk
information.
about, so
Yes,
you can
ma'am.
do an advance on his meeting and, put some good
Yes, ma'am.
press on it.